Welcome to our run-through of Nick Software's HDR Efex Pro, a really excellent program. This is our second video on HDR Efex Pro. Our first one was for HDR processing with single images only, and this one is going to be for multiple images. So we have our three images open in Photoshop, and what we're going to do is bring them into HDR Efex Pro. And this is pretty simply done here, where you just come up to File, Automate, and merge to HDR Efex Pro. You'll get this dialog box coming up first, and let's select our images, and here they are. These three right there will be perfect. Click Open. And then we definitely want alignment on. You should pretty much always have this on, especially if you held your camera by hand for your multiple images. If you want to make sure that these changes are non-destructive to your originals, click on Open as a Smart Object. I don't really mind at this point. And also there was a lot of wind blowing on this day and a lot of leaves moving around, so I'm going to click on Ghost Reduction Method, keep it on Adaptive, and I also will keep it on medium. We're ready to roll. Let's go ahead and press OK, and the images will be analyzed and then aligned, and then they'll be opened up in the HDR Efex Pro interface. Now you may have this happen. This is happening to me, and in your edition it may happen, but this is pretty good. What I'm being told here is that it can't really read what the different exposures were, so I need to set them manually. So I know that this particular image was shot at neutral EV, right on 0. This one, obviously by the name, is overexposed by 1 stop, so I'll bring that up to 1. And the last image was underexposed by 1 stop. So I'm going to bring that down to a -1, and then go ahead and click OK, and then we're going to be pretty much ready to roll and start playing around with this program, which is great fun, by the way, and produces really excellent results. And here we are. This is the program's first attempt at processing the HDR image, and it's not too bad, but we have, as you'll see, many options to start tweaking this around. Let's take a little tour of the interface first. Up here on the left-hand side, you have all your different viewing options here. This one is kind of cool. You click on this one, and what it does is it gives you this little red line in the center, and you can click on that and drag it to see it before and after wherever you want in your image. You also have the side-by-side before and after image. Pretty good. Every now and then go ahead and do flick around from your different options for your viewing. For us today, we're going to be taking the one screen. Now here you go, you get your preset categories down here. This is all as you can see, you've got 7 of them. You've got realistic. When you click on a particular category, you'll have different options, a little bit more specific subcategories here to choose from. Realistic strong, realistic balanced. You can click on artistic effects, and this will give you these little sub-presets, get you a little bit closer to where you may want to go. But even after that, as you'll see, you have many more options to tweak within each one of these. It's also interesting to note that you can use your HDR Efex Pro to create black and white images. I'm going to take the monochrome soft and see what that looks like. And again, I'd want to tweak it because the darks are too dark, but it's not a bad place to start. I'm just going to come off here and click monochrome contrasty. That's interesting too. Okay, so you're going to have fun with that one for sure. Now, before we get to our tweaking, I'm going to go ahead and click Landscape, and let's see, what did I like? Gradual contrast I like, if I remember right. It's not too bad, I guess. Let's try this as a starting place. I would probably, and I usually do, end up spending a little bit of a time choosing exactly the preset, the category and the preset under that category that I like the best. Make sure we get that one right. That'll get us closest to where we want to go. Now I've got a, as you can see, a 25% zoom right here. I also have a little navigator. If I bring this up to 100%, always good to be looking at your image in 100% enlargement. Then I've got my navigator here where I can come around the image and see the whole thing at 100%. Again, for us, I'm going to leave this back down on 25%. And now let's take a look at what we have on the right-hand side of the interface for even more fine-tuning. Before we go over our controls here, we have 3 of them and a lot of sliders to work with under each one of those. I'm going to go down here for a second. This is a very handy feature, this little loop. Now you can look at the histogram also if you want to for your image. I usually don't. I keep it on loop. But the nice thing about this is that you can view your whole image. Right now we've got, again, 25% enlargement. But you want to inspect your image at 100% at all times. So this is nice. Just move into your image and the loop will follow wherever your cursor is. And this is especially useful for checking out the highlights and the shadows. Are we getting any detail? We're not getting a whole lot of real detail in there right now. So that's real nice. Okay, so let's go back to some of our controls here. Where you're probably going to want to start is maybe tone compression. I usually leave this all alone. You'll be able to see a little bit, at least maybe the right half of the image as I move this around. See what happens. It's starting to pull the lights and the darks a little bit closer to each other. I kind of leave this sort of where it was. It was about a 39. Okay, let's get up into our global adjustments. Here are all our sliders. These are pretty intuitive. Exposure, pull it to the right. It's just simply going to make a brighter image. And we might want to do that. We might definitely want to do that. And then we might want to also come around with contrast, play around with that. So many of these controls at this point are completely intuitive and totally subjective. Whatever you think looks best. One suggestion I might have is try not to overcook your image. I see a lot of bad examples of HDR on the web, and it's because people grab the sliders and go insane with them. Down here is really nice. You've got your HDR method, and you've got a lot of choices here, including halo reduction, because when you do make HDR images, halos can creep into your images. Look for those little bright edges around edges of high contrast, and you want to get rid of those and use halo reductions. I don't happen to be having those problems in this image, so I'm going to play around with the method here. Bright soft is sometimes kind of a nice one. That's not bad at all, actually. It's almost like a fashion glamour glow or something. It's kind of nice. But again, this is a great program for just playing around. How about just soft? That's not bad at all. Now, contrast, pretty obvious. Bring up the contrast in your image, bring it down a little bit. Be very subtle with these adjustments. It's easy to go way overboard. How saturated do you want your colors to be? Structure is sort of like micro contrast, so you can play around with that and bring in a little bit more contrast. I like bringing in a little bit more contrast in the tree bark and also the rocks. That's kind of nice. The blacks, drag it to the right and the blacks get blacker. And if you drag the whites up, the highlights get brighter. Okay, so this works on just the highlights, right? Your exposure is a global adjustment for brightness, and then you can work on sort of brightness or darkness more specifically here. Beach, it was a hot day. You drag up the warmth, which I do want to do, to bring in a little bit more yellows, bring out that sand color a little bit more, and that's coming out kind of nicely now. I might have that contrast up or the structure up a little bit too much. It's beginning to look a little bit overcooked. But for our tutorial, again, it's play around till you get something that looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and move on. I don't want to spend tremendous amount of time there. Let's go on to our selective adjustments. This is really, really useful, and all the NIC software has these little control points you can put in, and they are extremely useful. And I love this aspect. Give you an example. What do I want to do here? Let's say I want to work on just this sky. Maybe it looks a little bit overcooked, a little bit too much contrast, something like that I want to change. Click on the Add Control Point, come over, and click it there to drop your control point. Now, let's go ahead and work with that a little bit. First thing I notice is a down triangle. Click on that to get all your options. And how big of an area am I actually going to control? Click on that. That tells you. I want to bring that up a little bit. Now, is that going to be exactly the area I want? There's an easy way to tell. Come back over here. Click on the little mask guy. And that gives you an idea of exactly what you're controlling. Now you can come in here, bring that up a little bit. Good. That's just about where I want to be. Let's click that off to get back to our image. Now I have a great idea of exactly what area I'm going to be working on. So now I can play around with all these other controls in here. I can change the exposure, maybe bring it up a little bit. Contrast, maybe I want to bring that down just a little bit, not too much though. Saturation I think is fine. Structure again is like the micro contrast. Bring that up. And again, be careful with all these contrast adjustments. And blacks, bring that up. The blacks get blacker. And I'm not sure I really want to do that. I guess there aren't a whole lot of blacks in there because there's little minor, very, very minor changes going on there. Do want to bring that down. I think the whites are just about white enough for me. Bring that up. Yep, way too much. So yeah, definitely play around with that warmth again. To the right to make it more yellow, to the left to make it more blue. And this is how strong, the method strength, how strong do you want all of this stuff to come in. I might just bring up that contrast just a little bit. Okay, I kind of like what I have there. Now, what I want to do is also affect other regions of the sky, like namely up in here and down in here. Very easy way to do that. Just hover your cursor over the control point itself, hold down the Alt key or the Option key on a Mac, and then click and drag, and the effect comes in. There we go. Pretty good. Excellent. Now, one other thing I might want to do, possibly, is work on this area right in here. Bring in a little bit more detail if I can. So I'll just simply go over. I don't want to duplicate that last control point because it has settings for the sky. So I'll just hit Add Control Point. Let's come back over into the leaves. Drop my other control point. How does that look? That seems pretty good. As you recall, click on that little mask icon to see where we're doing. There we go. I kind of like it. Perfect. Now I can play around in here. Pull up the saturation if I want. I'm not sure I do want to do the saturation on this guy. Minor adjustments there. We're in kind of a dark area. What do I want to do? Do I want to brighten that up a little bit? Maybe. Not a lot though. Really not a lot. Again, subtlety is the key. If I want to selectively bring in contrast, I could just darken up the darks and lighten up the lights. That'll do it for me too. I'm going to go ahead and leave that right there. Now, here are my control points, 1, 2, and 3. And so they're not distracting when you look at your image. Just simply move your cursor off the image and they disappear. Okay, we are really rolling and doing a great job on this so far, I think. So selective adjustments, I'll just leave that alone for the time being and get into our finishing adjustments. And as you can see, what do we have? We have a vignette. We can put a vignette on the image. Whatever. Let me try one. And you have all sorts of controls down here for your vignette. I'll try to come over here so you can see the controls and at least the right side of the image to see what's happening. The circle, or you could make it more rectangular. Let's keep it more circular. The size of the vignette, you bring it down here, it kind of disappears. Bring it up, it tightens it in a lot. How strong of a transition do you want between on the edge of the vignette? And also the amount. Now you can change your vignette from dark around the outside to light around the outside also. So that's a very nice effect there. And you have different vignette effects. I'll go ahead and turn that off. What else do we have down here? Also, the curves dialog box, exactly as you would have in Photoshop. And you can selectively work on any one of your 3 channels, as well as red, green, and blue. So that just about does it for Color Efex Pro. I'm sorry, HDR Efex Pro. That's another one of Nick's products, is Color Efex Pro. That is also another fantastic one, by the way. But I'm really happy with this. You get a lot of adjustments. You get a lot of control. It produces great effects. And also one of the real important things, I think, on any program like this is that you've got a lot of different presets you can go for. You've got all your different categories and then presets within each one of those, and then extra, bunches of sliders to do your tweaking at the end. Excellent program. I highly recommend that you do go ahead and buy this, or at least get the trial version from their website. Check out our website if you would like to purchase this. We have 15% discounts using our discount coupon code. And again, very, very good stuff. Nice one. Thank you, Nick Software. Okay, have fun. I hope you enjoyed it, and check out our other videos. We'll see you later.